Let's bring in our guest who is standing by. Trial attorney Jamie White is with us. Jamie, we just heard from Carrie Roberts. We've already heard over the last 3 days from Jennifer McCabe. Can you compare the testimony of these two women? How did they come across to you, these two friends who were with Karen Read the night that this happened?
So Ms. McCabe seems extremely focused on trying to tell the truth, and I'm not suggesting that the other witness is not, but I would say that's the distinction between the two. She was very focused on not allowing her perspectives to be confused by counsel. And I think they're both, Julia, this case, I'm from Michigan, which is adjacent to Minnesota to some degree. And these accidents in the winter are really, they happen a lot. And they happen in a frequency that where sometimes people just really can't figure out what's going on. And I just think that some of this conspiracy theory stuff is getting away from the fact that these were extraordinary elemental environments. And then you throw in that it sounds like everybody was intoxicated. So I want to kind of qualify that. I think the witnesses are doing the best they can. I think that maybe the defense has gotten over their skis with the conspiracy theory.
They've definitely been drilling it home. Right now, we're under direct with Carrie Roberts. It may take a turn the same way we saw with the cross-examination of Jennifer McCabe. But to your point, those snowy conditions continue to be a factor in what we're listening to in this testimony. The fact that both Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts are saying they couldn't see John O'Keefe's body under that mound. They thought Karen Read was crazy for saying, stop the car here, let me out. And she was able to just run over to his body. Pair that with all of these other witnesses who were inside the house earlier in the night who said they didn't see a body. And they would have, if the prosecution's theory is correct, would have had to pass the body of John O'Keefe when they left that party. Jamie, this has got to be so hard for his family inside of this courtroom, these parts. Just talk about how, as victim advocates, you prepare victims' families to be inside and to hear all of this contention over what happened because it is disputed.
That's a great question. And, our firm does quite a bit of victim advocacy. And, it's important to prepare people for practical realities. And what I mean by that, Julia, is sometimes accidents happen. And sometimes it's not criminal. And even if it is criminal, sometimes you can't necessarily prove it. And so, we just had a case in the last few weeks that we've had to have a very tough conversation with the family. A young man was delivering a pizza on a bike in Michigan. It wasn't in inclement weather, but, we've had multiple experts. I can't go into more detail than that, but at the end of the day, we had to have the tough conversation that, this maybe was just not intentional.
Yeah, it can be especially difficult for a family who just wants answers and who just wants justice. Jamie, stand by. We do have to squeeze in that break. We'll get back in for more testimony from Carrie Roberts in the Karen Read trial. Stay with us. All right, during this sidebar, let's bring in Jamie White, who is still with us. Jamie, has anything changed about your opinion of this testimony? Is it moving the needle for the Commonwealth or for the defense at this point under direct?
Well, I think it continues to raise some questions as to whether or not this was a reckless act to the extent that it goes to the level of second-degree murder. This was a horrific night, and I guess I want to apologize to my Minnesotan friends. I mentioned them as being the place and venue, and in fact, of course, it's Massachusetts. But I think we can all agree when you get above the Mason-Dixie line, we all deal with the same set of circumstances at certain times of night. And I think she is contributing to the idea that nobody could see anything, and that's very, very common. Maybe difficult for people to understand that don't live in these circumstances for 3 months of the year, but certainly understandable those that do.
Jamie White still with us. Jamie, what could be the reason that they would not cross-examine Carrie Roberts, they cross-examined her husband, Kurt Roberts, who testified many days ago for at least 3 or 4 minutes, and 2 days worth of cross-examination for Jennifer McCabe, the other person in the car, but none for Carrie Roberts.
So let me address this generally, Julia. You know, as a general matter, defense counsel does not have the obligation to present evidence or witnesses that they do not intend on bringing. So when it comes to issues like this, you know, we could speculate, and I don't want to do that, but as a general matter, we have the opportunity to interview witnesses before they testify. And I think that we can only speculate that there's something that they didn't want to go into. But it is speculation.
It is speculation, but is it because they think that nothing that she said is damaging to their case, or do they want to make sure that the jury is looking at all of the people that they did cross more heavily than Carrie? Carrie was not inside of that home with the McCabe's and the Alberts. They certainly want to point the finger towards the McCabe's and the Alberts and Brian Higgins for this cover-up. So perhaps they're trying to say that we don't have anything for Carrie Roberts. She wasn't there. She's not involved. We aren't the bad guys here. We only have about 10 seconds, Jamie White, but I'm still floored.
I agree with you. I think that this is something they're going to have to talk about after the trial, and I look forward to hearing it as well.
More after this. Don't go anywhere.